This is a video of Memories of St. Vincent's Academy and the Daughters of the Cross Museum, which is located at the Catholic Center in Shreveport at 3500 Fairfield Avenue. The chants and hymns that you are hearing are sung by the Daughters of the Cross in the late 1950s. This beautiful painting was done by Sister Genevieve, a large painting that hung in the novitiate. It was a gift of Mary Hope Sherman Long, a graduate of 57, and Susan T., graduate of 58. This is an aerial view showing the old St. Vincent and the new St. Vincent. This sketch was done by Camille Seacard Hirsch, who was a graduate of St. Vincent. She did it when she heard that the building was going to be demolished. She was a 1947 graduate. It was donated to our museum by Carol Sutton Willis, who graduated in 1969. This is a newspaper clipping about the Daughters of the Cross. It was also donated by Carol Sutton Willis, class of 69. This beautiful large painting was done by Sister Genevieve. It hung in the old St. Vincent Library for many years. When the new school opened in 1962, it was brought to the new school and hung at the top of the stairwell leading to the second floor. It was purchased by the Daly family at the 1999 auction and later donated to our museum. This is a quilt done by Patty Sullivan Hoffman, who graduated from St. Vincent in 1951. She called it Our Haven. This is another quilt that she made and donated to our museum. It shows all the Daughters of the Cross superiors. This is a beautiful painting by Sister Genevieve also. It was given as a wedding gift to Cynthia Brooks McCard, who graduated in 1961. This is a sketch by Mr. Goza of the Chapel of the Old St. Vincent. It was donated by the Daughters of the Cross. These are the last words of Mother de Villeneuve, who was the foundress of the Daughters of the Cross. Daughters of the Cross donated this to us in September of 2012. This beautiful oil painting was done by Sister Joan. Who was the head of the art department for many years. This is a large photograph of the Diamond Jubilee 75th anniversary of the Daughters of the Cross. This picture was from December of 1930. It shows the nuns in their old habit and also visiting nuns, priests, and such. This was done by Louis Seacard from marble and wood from the old chapel. And it was given to the Daughters of the Cross, who gave it to us. Here's a plaque given by Loyola. This next picture is Gregorian chant, handwritten by early monks that the Daughters of the Cross had for many, many years, and it too was donated in 2012. This was a retreat August 13th, 1957. The nuns are standing on the steps of the old St. Vincent Academy. These numbers tell the name of the nuns that are in the large picture. This too was made by Mr. Seacard and given to the Daughters of the Cross. The metal was the lightning rod on top of the building. Daughters of the Cross arrived in the United States on November 21st, 1855, and they taught continuously until 1997. The first school was 1868. This shows all the superiors of the Daughters of the Cross. This sketch was done by Mr. Kissinger. This is an original cross belonging to one of the Daughters of the Cross, and it was donated by Sister Elizabeth Marie in 2019. Here's a picture of Sister Elizabeth Marie, Bishop Friend, and Sister Maria. This was done by Sister Joan. It shows St. Vincent de Sales, St. Vincent de Paul, and Mother de Villeneuve. It was donated by the Daughters of the Cross to our room, our museum. Sister Joan called it the Trilogy. She did it in 1968. This is how the nuns wrapped their fruitcakes that they made at Christmas to give to their benefactors and family and friends. They were so beautifully wrapped and delivered by the nuns. This cross you see to the left is the one worn by Sister Maria. The gold cross was found in her wallet. This is a very old Vincentian yearbook. From 1928. This is a poem actually that I wrote when I was a senior in high school, when we found out that the building was going to be demolished. Now this is the 100th anniversary publication put out by the Daughters of the Cross. This is a medallion that was made in later years. I did find one very early one, so evidently this was a replica of an early one. It's a plaque given to Sister Maria for her 50 years of service. This is a history that is available on the internet. If you go to the diocese webpage, you can read the history. This is a poem written by a 1943 graduate. This is the death dates of the nuns. The fruitcake that I mentioned earlier that the nuns made every year, that's the recipe. This is the emblem for St. Vincent's. Death dates of the Daughters of the Cross. This is according to the years. This is what's contained in some of the binders that we have on display here in the museum. Again, some more death dates. This is a copy of the 100th anniversary book that was put out. This was donated by the Daughters of the Cross, a Madonna and child. Here is St. Francis de Sales. This also was donated by the Daughters of the Cross. This is some of the marble from the main altar at the old St. Vincent Chapel. This too was donated by the Daughters of the Cross. Some more marble from the Daughters of the Cross, taken from the main altar. This is a beautiful aerial view showing the old St. Vincent, the novitiate there to the right, the swimming pool, and the new St. Vincent. This is an aerial view from the back. You see the main building and you can see the novitiate. This is a rosary made by Louis Sicard, and it was donated by Sister Elizabeth Marie Grimillon in June of 2019. This was from the altar rail. It's the wood used from the altar rail. This is the Hall of Fame, inaugural inductees from the Loyola College Prep. Honored them. This is Sister Cornelia, the cross that was used at her funeral, and it was donated by Carol Sutton Willis, who graduated in 1969. The habit for this little nun was made by Sister Fidelis as a gift for Madeline Howard Elford, who was a graduate of 1959. This shows the old habit, the bonnet habit worn by the Daughters of the Cross. A lot of work. She made this when she was in the infirmary. This was worn until 1953. This was the more modern habit that they used for several years. This was also made by Sister Fidelis. Very difficult to sew black on black, and her vision was poor at the time, but this is what she was able to do. This habit was worn until about 1967. This is a picture of Sister Lucy and Sister Maria. This is a plaque given to Sister Maria for her 63 years of service. And this is her diploma. She graduated from St. Vincent in 1953. This is a program for her funeral. This is how they decorated the church at Christmas in the old chapel. Magnificent. This was in one of the yearbooks. A message from the alumni alma mater. This is the St. Vincent emblem and what it means. At one time, St. Vincent's was a college and academy. This is an article that ran in the newspaper when the school closed. This is the First Communion class. May 16th, 1948. The picture was taken in front of St. John's. This is a 50th reunion bag put out by the class of 69. This was made by Sister Joan. She gave one of these tote bags to all the Daughters of the Cross. She gave this one to Madeline Howard Elford, class of 1959. Here's a book of poetry, poems connected with a graduate. This is an original brick from the old St. Vincent Academy. The bricks were made by hand in 1907 by Rollo and some of the nuns and others. Demolished in 1972. This was part of the gym outfit of one of the students. It was donated by Cynthia Brooks McCord, who graduated in 1961. This plaque was from the Mothers Club at the senior luncheon. This graduation cap was donated by Kay Nader, class of 68. This is a class ring. And this too is another class ring donated by another graduate. She graduated in 1959. This is 4 generations of one family, including Sister Cornelia and Carol Sutton. The old St. Vincent was from 1907 until 1972. This beautiful piece of artwork was done by Sister Joan. She did the calligraphy and the beautiful little roses that she was famous for. This was a spindle from the stairwell of the old St. Vincent. It was donated by one of the graduates. There's another painting by Sister Sophie. It looks like the grounds of St. Vincent, old St. Vincent. Carol Sutton Willis, class of 69, donated the pitcher and bowl used by the boarders in the old St. Vincent. This light hung in the chapel of the old St. Vincent. It was purchased by Madeline Howard Elford and her husband Lynn Elford when the building was demolished in 72. It still works, and this was donated to the museum by the Elfords. Large, heavy light. This too was a painting by Sister Sophie. This was painted by Sarah Gale Klucher Looney, who is a graduate of St. Vincent in 1959. Aerial view, old building, new building. You see the swimming pool and the novitiate. The back of the old St. Vincent Academy. You can see the gym there to the right, which was used by the students at the new building as well. This was Sister Rosemarie, who was a graduate of St. Vincent in 1929. She joined the Order of the Daughters of the Cross and was a member for 37 years. She was the head of the music department for many years and conducted the choir. She was the first superior at the New St. Vincent in 1962. This sketch was done by Kay Borden. This was from a postcard. Old St. Vincent. This was Sister Anne Marie, who died in a tragic car crash. This is Sister Constance as a young nun. This was a sketch of an old nun. This was donated by Tookie Barr. Of course, the beautiful chapel. Coffee mug. This is a handkerchief given in 1988 when the school closed. This was donated by Louise Alley, who was a graduate of St. Vincent. Louise Corey Alley. This was done by the granddaughter of Jo Marie Santone to Manila. This is the bridge across the creek to the baseball field and tennis court. This is the 100th anniversary of Holy Trinity. This is beautiful artwork by Sister Mercedes. This was the first St. Vincent's Academy, and this is the replacement built in 1907. The one you saw a minute ago burnt in 1906. Here again is the main altar of the old St. Vincent. Another aerial view. This was done by one of the old French nuns in a prayer book that belonged to Madeline Howard. The old nuns used these wonderful calligraphy pens brought from France. Beautiful statue on loan, extended loan, from a St. Vincent graduate. St. Jude. High school uniform. From 1970. This is the ring ceremony of the class of 1959. Taken in the auditorium of the old St. Vincent. Here's St. Vincent in the snow. Very rare occurrence. This is looking down the third floor hall, the high school floor. Notice the graduates hung on the pictures hung on the wall to the left there. This is the grotto, which was down the hill from the old St. Vincent towards Southern Avenue. This was an interesting sketch in a very old book. This picture was taken probably around 1919. The chapel was completed in 1917. This sketch was done by a Mr. Roth in South Louisiana. He was not familiar with the building, but I loaned him many pictures of St. Vincent, and he did the artwork from that. This was a photograph taken after the large trees that were coming down the driveway were demolished due to a tornado. This is the sketch by Camille Secord Hirsch. This was a painting done by Mrs. Gaddy, who was the mother of some students of St. Vincent's. This is a St. Vincent sketch by Sister Genevieve. A painting. Kay Borden painting. Watercolored by someone else. Either Sister Joan or Madeline Elford. This was found in the trash after the 1972 auction. It was a gift from the class of 1933. That's Miss Walcott, Sister Dorothea, Janet Turgeon, Mary Hope Sherman, and they have a graduation dress from the 1800s. This is a 1916 diploma. This is a copy of the diploma by Sister Cornelia. '100th graduating class, 1969. Pictures of the 1966 seniors. 1961 seniors. Last graduating class, 1988. That's the names of the students that were in the last graduating class. This was in front of the convent of the Daughters of the Cross when they lived at the Glen. This was done by the granddaughter of Jo Marie Santone Tuminella, who graduated in 1959. Her granddaughter Carolyn did this. This was donated by Claudia Fritz Oliver, who graduated in 1972, hand-painted china dishes. This was a heavy rubber rug that was on the floor in the chapel of the old St. Vincent. Very thick, heavy, and durable. This is a seal of the Daughters of the Cross, donated by Janie Petit, who graduated from St. Vincent. These were used on the altar in the chapel at St. Vincent. This is the official seal used for many years by the Daughters of the Cross. This circular one was the final seal that they used. This was the earlier oval seal that they used. This was beautiful dishes that belonged to the Daughters of the Cross for many years, and donated by Sister Lucy and Barbara Manhart and the Daughters of the Cross. A lot of leaded crystal. Donated by the Daughters of the Cross. This was given to a student in the 4th grade. It was done by Sister Sophie. And Dottie Garland won it she graduated in 64, but she won this prize in 1953. When she was very, very ill, she asked her sister to please give it to our alumni room, our museum now. Plaque is not visible, but it was presented to Sister Lucy. This is the grotto again. It was a gift of the Sodality. Our Lady of Lourdes. This was a pew used in the old St. Vincent chapel, maybe by the priest. These cards were given in the early 1900s to Lillian Wellman Bankston by the nuns. Beautiful holy cards. This is Mother Hyacinth, who brought 9 other nuns with her to the United States in 1855. Donated by the Daughters of the Cross. This was discarded, part of the altar rail, and it was renovated by Lynn Elford and donated by Madeline Elford, the chapel again. Father Rollo, who designed St. Vincent Academy, he was from France and thought about the castles there when he designed it and helped build it. And it was completed, the chapel was completed in 1917, and he died in 1918, and his funeral was in that chapel. He was a great benefactor of the Daughters of the Cross, very generous. These were the posts used at the main altar as you would walk up into the sanctuary area, one on both sides. This was purchased at the 1999 auction by the Elfords and donated to the museum. That was the tag that was on there. Beautiful, very, very old vases. These calligraphy pens were from the old French nuns, and they belonged to Sister Joan, who was the art director for many years. And she gave these pens to Madeline Elford, who graduated in 1959. Another vase purchased in 1999 and donated to the museum by the Elfords. Sister Marietta donated this to our museum. A doorknob from the old St. Vincent. These treasures belong to a 1930 graduate. It shows the meaning of the coat of arms of the Daughters of the Cross and other medals, including her class ring. This lady liked to wear diamond rings, but she loved to wear her St. Vincent ring as well. Thought that was very neat. She loved St. Vincent. Her name was Georgette Frere. She had attended St. Vincent for 12 years, and she was so proud of her school. Here's the main altar in the old St. Vincent Chapel. Mary's altar in the old St. Vincent Chapel, now located at Holy Trinity in downtown Shreveport. St. Joseph's altar in the old St. Vincent Chapel, now located downtown at Holy Trinity. This is the diploma from Mary Patricia Sullivan, who graduated in 1951. She's the one that made the quilts. She also donated her class ring. Patricia Sullivan Hoffman. Here is Sister Rita's 1925 class ring from St. Vincent's College. She attended St. Vincent for 11 years and graduated from there. Above each door at the old St. Vincent was the classroom number. Hand-painted ashtray early St. Vincent years. These belong to Sister Agnes Ruth. Bookends. Very appropriate. That's a little note on the bottom from Sister Agnes Ruth. These are some fennels from the main altar at the old St. Vincent's Chapel. These were donated by Madeline Moricelli, who was Sister Rosemary for 37 years. These columns were in the old St. Vincent's Chapel, purchased at the 1999 auction, and donated by Lynn and Madeline Elford. This is a pray-do from the old St. Vincent Chapel. It was also used when they moved to the convent at the Glen. This was purchased by the Alumni Association and donated to our museum. This is a little small step stool. This pray-do belonged to Georgia Middlebrooks, who donated it to the museum. She graduated in 1955. This note was from Sister Agnes Ruth, written in 1972. This is the class of 1988, which was the last graduating class from St. Vincent's Academy. Here's some files on the shelves in our museum. There are a lot of documents, pictures, and other treasures. We have binders that have a lot of pictures in there as well, and we have a collection of yearbooks. We don't have all the years, but we do have some. We also have documents from the Daughters of the Cross. A lot of articles, documents, and pictures. We have the nuns' files of the Alumni Association as well. There's some of Sister Dorothea's books. This collection of Sister Joan's treasures, some of her art supplies in there. This is a very, very large picture in the museum of the St. Vincent Chapel, and this is some stained glass window purchased at the auction in 1999. There's some tables from the old St. Vincent that belong to the Daughters of the Cross. That is the mausoleum sketch of where the different nuns are buried. That's at Forest Park Cemetery. Here are the nuns again at the 1957 retreat that they would have at the end of every summer. August 13th of 1957. That's a way to identify them there. There's a group of nuns dating back to 1916. Most all of those would have been from France. They left their home and many never returned to France. They're in front of the St. Vincent, new St. Vincent, if you noticed it. By new, I mean the one built in 1907. This was a way for the nuns to vote. They're black and white marbles in there, so when they would have a meeting and discuss something, they would vote with the marbles. Another table. There's some treasures of artwork done by the Daughters of the Cross. Very nice stitchery. Many of these. The nuns spent hours and hours working on these. And we have a large collection of them in our museum. Too many to display at this point in time. This beautiful stitchery was donated by Sally Took Haney, who went to St. Vincent in the 9th and 10th grade. This is artwork by Sister Joan, Madonna and Child. She was the director of the art department for many years at St. Vincent. More work done by the nuns. Back when the Mass was in Latin, this was used by the altar boys to read the Latin and to follow along with the Mass. Maybe the priest used them too, I'm not sure about that. The doll on the left belonged to Sister Joan, and she received it when she was a small child. The one on the right belonged to her good friend. The clothes were made by Sister Fidelis. This was a small panel that was purchased at the auction and donated to the museum. A Sister Sophie painting again. Kay Borden sketch. Here's a uniform donated by Carol Sutton Willis. This is a double prie-dieu purchased at the 1972 auction by Madeline and Lynn Elford and donated to the museum. It's a candle holder used for many years by the Daughters of the Cross in the chapels. Used by the Daughters of the Cross. Some antique chairs donated to the museum. This chair was used by the Daughters of the Cross chaplain around the 1880s. Another old antique chair. This pew was purchased at the 1972 auction by Madeline and Lynn Elford. They donated it to the museum in 2021. Some old lamps of the Daughters of the Cross. Old bench that they used for many years. This was donated by Elaine Gallion. And in the picture you don't see some treasures, but it's already filled with beautiful treasures.